conducting an interview on my dad, John Moldthan, for his service in the Vietnam War. All right, I got a couple questions. First question is, what is your name?
John Howard Moldthan,
Where were you born?
Indianapolis, Indiana, on November 3rd, 1947.
What do you do for a living?
I am CEO and President of Buscom Incorporated, and we provide various communication solutions for the healthcare marketplace, for public safety, for call centers, and the courts. Federal, state, and local courts.
What war were you in?
I was in the Vietnam War.
What was your specialization in the war, such as like medic, typewriter, ground infantry?
I was an aircraft armament specialist.
What was the name of your regiment?
What was the 1st Air Cavalry Division?
What year did you get enlisted or got drafted into the war?
I was drafted in April and went into the service in April of 1967.
How old were you when you entered the war?
I was 20 years old.
At the time that you were drafted, did you support the war?
Yes.
Did you have any family members in the war with you, and if so, who?
My two brothers were in the Air Force, and they weren't there exactly the same time as I was. But I think that they overlapped about 6 months of my tour there. My brother's name was Tom, who was the second oldest to me, and Steve, who was my youngest brother. They were in the Air Force.
Did you have any friends that were drafted or that enlisted before entering the war?
Yes. Some enlisted, some were drafted like me. Unfortunately, I can't really remember their names.
Did you stay in touch with your family, and if so, how?
By phone and mail. Phone when I was here, but in the U.S. still. However, when I got to Vietnam, that wasn't possible. So, via phone and mail.
What was the food like in Vietnam?
Um, it was pretty much terrible. We ate a lot of sea rations. When Since we had helicopters, occasionally we would get good food because we'd trade for it. And since we had helicopters, we could move anything to anywhere. And a lot of times, other units like the Marines and Seabees had really good things to trade, but they had no transportation. And since we were an air mobile division, we had easy access to helicopters. So many times we would get steaks and really good food from them by trading them transportation. And so we'd get lucky and get better food by trading for it.
How often did you get lucky and get good food by helicopter?
I'd say once a week. You know, we'd trade for steaks and that kind of food.
Did you have plenty of supplies, or did you ever run out of supplies?
No, I can never remember running out. In fact, if anything, we had more than what we really needed most of the time. On the supply side, sometimes we didn't have all the parts that we needed. My job was to fix and to maintain all of the rocket systems and machine guns and the guns on the helicopter gunships. So sometimes we had what we needed and sometimes we didn't.
Did you feel pressure or stress?
I did at first. I was afraid a lot in the beginning because we were mortared by the Viet Cong pretty regularly the first part of every month for about the first week of the month, and it was a pretty frightening situation. These were 81 millimeter mortars that are about, I'd say about 2.5 feet long and maybe about 4 or 5 inches in diameter. And they could easily blow up a helicopter or blow up a bunch of guys. Or the frightening part of my job was that when they started shooting these mortars in on our base camp, it was my job to get up, get out of bed because the attack would usually be during the night, and it was my job to get up and run out to where the helicopters were and load a specific helicopter, load the machine guns and arm them and arm the rockets, so that moments later when the crew got out there and fired up the helicopter to go up and start shooting at these guys that were launching mortars at us, they were able to fire up the helicopter and get up in the air pretty quickly and chase these guys away.
Mom, get the phone. Get the phone. Hurry, now. Was there something special you did for good luck?
I prayed. I prayed. And I think that that's what got me through the war.
How did people entertain themselves?
Well, we didn't have a lot of time off. We worked 12 hours a day. Uh, you know, our job was to fix and maintain all the armament systems on the helicopter gunship. So, you know, if the machine guns were jammed or the rockets didn't fire or had issues like that, it was our job, myself and another guy, to fix those and make sure that the helicopter was ready to go for those systems. So that's what we did, and we do it about 12 hours a day. So at night we'd only have about three or 4 hours to ourselves, and we'd lift weights and talk, and some guys would read, and of course we didn't have any TV over there. That's pretty much what we did.
What was the most memorable story that you have about the war? Your most personal, most memory?
Oh, probably the day I got out. I don't know. I have, you know, different. The what?
Guard tower. The one guard tower.
The what?
Where the guy picked you up over his head with the gun.
Oh, okay.
Tell that whole thing.
Well, I'd say one of the more memorable, if not the most memorable, story was one of my best friends was he was drafted. However, he was also to be on the 1968 Olympic weightlifting team, and he was on the team, and like I did, he got his draft notice. And just because you were going to college, or well, if you got lower grades, which is what I did, and he wasn't in college at the time, but he was on the 1968 Olympic weightlifting team, and that wasn't good enough to keep him out of Vietnam, so he got drafted like I did. And we were up on a guard tower one night, and because we had to do guard duty, and there was two of us, we were up about 20 feet in the air on this tower, and we made a bet with each other that we had to stay awake, and if we fell asleep, we could get in a lot of trouble. In fact, get possibly court-martialed. And we bet each other that we'd stay awake, and if one of us didn't, the other one had the right to throw the guy who